yesterday, I want to be in general about bringing rayas from science and from archaeology, and you have to really realize and understand who you're relying on and what you're relying on. But to get more specific over here as to the fact that they found all these muric shells, which is like 300 feet by, we said 100 feet by 8.5 feet deep, full with millions and millions of snail shells from the murics, which were cracked precisely right opposite the place where you extract the dye. So that sounds pretty convincing. Now, there is no question that in the times of Chazal and earlier, in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, there was a tremendous, thriving dyeing industry. There's no question that they used the dye of murics like they dug up and they see it. And not only do they find it in these diggings, but it's written about extensively from the ancient Goyish writings. There's Aristotle, who was a Greek philosopher, and he wrote many, many books on nature. He lived at the end of the Bayis Rishon. There's Pliny the Elder, who wrote, I think they say, 37 books on nature. He lived this last 100 years of the Bayis Sheni, and both of them write a tremendous amount about this murics. They're writing it as far as nature, not as far as the dyeing, but B'Teichat Dvarim, they do mention murics, which is not 100% that they're referring to the exact thing, but even assuming that it's the same dye, they both bring down that it was a very, very big business in those days. And they mention the different colors even that they would dye from it. And they both say everything about purple and all different shades of light purple to strong purple to red purple, but there's not one mention in it as to the color of blue. We mentioned that in 1980s they discovered the way to get from the standard normal dyeing procedures which would produce normally purple, and they were able to do it with blue by taking it and exposing it in its reduced state, exposing it to the sun. There's other ways to do it. Also, as soon as you dip it into the clear dye, you either expose it to the sun, or you cook it, or you steam it with very strong heat. So these ways, whether they knew it or not, it just seemed like they not necessarily knew about it. They didn't write anything about it. The mumchim and the historians, they say that it would actually be absurd. It would be not normal for them to take these murixes, which were so expensive. They write down that it was worth 20 times its weight of gold. So it's 20 times more than gold its weight to use that to color blue when they had such a cheap way of doing it, which was through the plant, indigo plant, and it produced the exact same color as the murix blue would produce. To assume that they had all these shells over here and that they dyed blue with it, it's illogical and it's groundless. There's no mocker for it. Afilu, they found one writing in those times, somebody Vivitris, and he mentioned something about blue, and if you look at the context of what he's writing, it's very clear that he doesn't mean that they dyed blue with it. And what he means is that the shade of purple was a bluish shade of purple as opposed to the other ones which produced a red shade of purple. But blue, clear, clean blue, the Techeles, there's no mention, and they write about all these dyes, and they don't mention anything about blue. But even if we'll put down the hanocha that they did use it and they used it for blue, which we said is not logical, but to leap and to jump from there and to say that if they colored blue, so it must be that that's the Techeles. There's no place, all these finds that they found, there's no sign on the top of the door that says Techeles, Techeles Sitas Factory. No such thing over there. So unless if somebody would find strings of tzitzis with blue, and they would be able to test that it's done from the murex, you would know 100% that this is somebody who's a Yorei Shamayim. You see in the Gemaras over there that there were many people that used to have counterfeit and knockoff types of Techeles to get cheaper. So even if you would find it, you'd have to know that he's a Yorei Shamayim. You'd have to know that it's from a tzitzis, and just stop to jump from the fact. So they did find something. What they found a very interesting thing, and that was that in many of these places where they excavated and dug and found many of these shells, they found that they're separated two different types of shells. They found the murex trunkless in one place, and nearby they found a whole tremendous amount also of shells that were a combination of the hamastima and the brandaris, which are generally more reddish purple. And so from there they said, why did they split them? This is the murex trunkless is in one area and the other two in another area mixed together. Aloy dover, what's the shot? And so again they gave this big leap, and they say must be that since these are purple, which they do produce more purplish, reddish purple, so that's why they put it over there. And this must have been that it's a different color. This must mean that it's blue. So blue, so they have a raya kopanim of blue. And then they continue and they say, so that must have been the tzitzis. But the truth is, to start guessing why they used to do like that, I mean, it's ludicrous in itself, but even if you want to start guessing, so you just look in one of the writings of Pliny and you'll see that he writes that there was a very famous Tyrian purple in those days, very, very chashuv Tyrian purple, which everybody came to Tzur to get. And he says that the way that you produce that is by double dyeing. And that is, you take the wool and you dip it into hamastima, you take it out, then you dip it again into the brandaris. That was the chashuv wool of the Tyrian. So if you're going to want to guess why they had those separately, this is probably your best guess in any case. But even if this wasn't the case, to start guessing and saying that because they're separate piles, must be that they did blue, it's a very, very weak raya, even in archaeology, let alone in Torah, to start passing from this is mamish less hasharis, this is guessing at the best. Now they did find 4 different fabrics. They don't have much, fabrics don't last so long, but they did find 4 different cloths that were dyed with the murex blue, l'chayra. And they want to say that l'chayra, from there you see that they did produce blue. Was it in tzitzis? No. Nothing to do with tzitzis again. But the etzem fact, they believe al kol panim, that if you could prove that they knew how to dye blue from the murex, then it's pretty obvious that the tzitzis and the techeles, which Chazal say was made in the same place where they did find it, stomach was from the murex. So they found this Siberian Russian saddlecloth that had in it traces of blue. And they want to bring a raya from there that's clear. They tested the purple in it, and that came from the murex. But there's a Dr. Tzvi Koren. He's the director of the Edelstein Center for Analysis of Ancient Artifacts. He was given permission from the Russian government in St. Petersburg to take a few threads and to test it in his lab. And as much as he holds that the Techeles was made out of this murex, his sheet of punkt happens to be that it's Techeles is purple, which is Arsa Machrein that do say like that. But he tested these things and he came out in his lab that the red-purple color, the purple, that was take 100% made from the murex trunkless snail. The blue part of it, the cloth that was blue, was 100% plant indigo. Go ahead running around showing that there's murex over here. They say it's proven that it's murex, and they circle the blue to show that the blue was made from the murex. It's very misleading, at the very least. There was another find that they found in Wadi Murbat, which is a sample of a greenish blue. It was green blue, not blue, greenish blue. So they went ahead and they said that if and there was traces of murex in it. So he said like this, if it was purple to begin with and it faded, it wouldn't fade to greenish blue. That's not the way things go. The only things that could go from one color to greenish blue must have been that it originally was blue. Blue doesn't turn into green. So they say, the pshat is, the only thing that they could figure out is that wool over time sometimes turns yellowish. And if you have yellow of the wool and the blue of the dye, so it's mistaber and you're mo'idi talking that it turned bluish green. So it's gespart that it originally started off clear blue, and since there's traces of murex in it, so it's a raya mukrachas that this is blue, and once it's blue, then it's techeles, and once it's techeles, then you're quick to put on the techeles. Now, the truth is that they found in those studies, they tried it out, and there was a lot of planting to go mix together with it, and so there's zikr, a tzad, that there was some murex in there, and when you put in also a mixture of indigo, it will shade a lot less purple and turn into blue and even greenish. And there's other hamtzais and other svaris and other cheshbonis how it came, and there's very little raya from that originally started blue and it was from murex. And there was another one in Matzada, they found two cloths. One of them was red-purple, which is obviously no raya, and the other one, which they said was blue, was found to be bluish-purple. Totally purple, which is not the color that anybody holds, that tzitzis should be, almost nobody. In Tel Shikmona, they found one of these finds full of murex, and nearby, actually, they found a vat, which shows Taka that this was a dyeing industry, which they did, and in the vat there was residual left over from the dye, and they wanted to bring a raya from there. Also, that the problem was that again the dye in the vat was purple. It wasn't blue at all. So after all these rayas, very unclear, very uncircumstantial at best, asharis with guesses to guess like that. Rabbi Per, Techeles Per, who's father of Rabbi Per, grandfather of Osher Per, and he says that one of his big rayas, he says, is that in the 6th century, that's the middle of the Bayis Rishon, in the time of Yecheskel, which according to historians was the height of this Tyrian commercial of murex. That's when they were at their high to produce the purple, in Tyrian purple, which means they used the murex that in Eretz Yisrael very, very much. And at that point, he brings down a pasuk in Yecheskel that says Techeles v'argomon, that they used to not export, but they used to import Techeles v'argomon mi'ie Elisha, from the islands of Elisha, which Targum Yonason says is Italia. Haya Mechasech used to cover you. So even during those times, it seems like they used to import it, the blue of Techeles, not export it. Now, it's a very stark akasha, except you have to know Minei Rubei, because the Chazal did say that on the shores between Haifa and between Suma the Tzur, they did have Techeles, maybe it was different times, but during the time of Yecheskel, which was a time when they produced in Sur all these colors, Syrian purple, it's clear that they imported Techeles, which would give the impression that the blue, that the murex was, they didn't know how to produce, or at least it was too expensive for them to produce the Techeles, so they used to import it from other places. And just to end off, there's a slew of achrayim, that's the Yavitz, the Korbanei, the Radal, and the Chasam Sofer, all when they learn this Gemara in Shabbos and say that the Chazal say that the Tzumar Tzuru in Haifa is where the Chilazim was fished, where they got the Chilazim, they all say that this was exclusive to this place and it was not found anywhere else. And that's what the Gemara is saying, is the only place we're able to find the Chilazim. Now this Chilazim that they found it all over the world. They found it recently in Mexico, in the English Channel. They found it in Spain, in Greece, all over the place. They have millions and millions of these huge amounts of shells. And it's not exclusive to Sheikh Zvulun, which is where the Gemara says it seems to be, which we'll see the Gemara in Zvulun says that they had the schus of the Chilazim. And even if you're going to say that what these Achrayim mean is that it wasn't maybe it was in Chutz La'aretz, but in Eretz Yisrael it was found between these two areas. Even that's very, very far from the truth. They found them all along the coast, from the north to the south. True, it's a little more concentrated on the north, but they found them all down in Tel Dan, Bechul, and there's many, many excavations that they found this. So that in itself is, according to these Achrayim al Kopanim, would seem not like that. Now today, Grada, when they produce the proponents, this organization produce their blue strings, they don't even get it from the Murex in Eretz Yisrael. Today, the Society of Protection of Nature in Eretz Yisrael, they listed the Murex as a protected species. They're afraid that they're going to get lost and fished, and there's not going to be anything left, so they asked it. So today they went to Greece and they get it. They don't even get it between these areas, which some hold that you have to get it from these areas, and they get it from Greece, and then they had problems with Greece, and they went to Spain, and so true, they did find many digs, and it is very strong proof that there was a very thriving dyeing industry. But to bring a raya from there to anything to do with Techeles and Tzitzis is asharis and halacha. They have no place, no mokum in halacha. It's speculation at best, and full of guesses and a lot of misleading information. Which will come to this on this.